Okay, let's do 80s rock ballads. Nice. All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. This video is going to cover how to build the world's greatest sawhorses. These are the Jackass sawhorses. They were invented by a framer down in Texas, Ed. Cannot remember Ed's last name right now, it doesn't matter. His info is in the description below, but it's jackassawhorse.com. Pay the 20 bucks or whatever it is to buy the pattern for your first one. After that, you can do what I'm gonna do here and trace it. Ed is a hardworking framer like you and me. These are the best sawhorses I have ever used. We've been using them now since 2017. We still have that original pair somewhere.
How many?
102, 103.
Yeah, right.
This pair I built just about a year ago. The pair underneath this, we have a bunch that were out of scrap Weyerhaeuser sheathing. That's a long story. The pair below, I believe Kyle built those like summer of 2020. They're holding up great. They stay outside full time. What we like about them, obviously, is that they fold in half. They don't take up that much room in your van. We tend to store them. I mean, we've got just stuff on them all over the place. They handle a lot of weight. Advantech is the best material to use. This house, we're using the X Factor. So it's like, why not just have the world's best sawhorses made out of the world's best subfloor with an amazing goldish, orangish yellow? Kind of depends on your camera screen. We all know that iPhones reproduce color terribly, but if you're looking at it on an Android phone, they're beautiful. Anyway, so this is how you do it. It's very simple. This morning I swang by Lowe's. This is 1/2 inch by 50 foot rope. And these are little 3.5 inch hinges. It's like $3 a pair. These are not the world's cheapest sawhorses, but at this point we're getting like 5-6 years out of them. And that was with a lower grade OSB. So anyway, let's just get right into the video. Okay, let's do 80s rock ballads. Nice.
It was indeed the perfect playlist, as the weather went from sunny to ultimately raining on me. As we go along, please comment below if you recognize any of the songs. And no, I am not a professional singer. Step 1, we could have lots of fun. New Kids on the Block records. Step 1, trace the pattern. If you just bought the pattern and you laid out for the first time, it'll take you a little bit to get it all laid out. After that, who cares? Then 7 years, we're using the same pattern. We didn't used to take the step of drilling holes at all of the intersections. That's like a 1-inch Diablo bit. It's whatever's in the drill. We used to just overcut where all the lines intersected. I prefer to drill the holes instead of overcutting, because what kind of a hack overcuts? You might notice that I'm leaving the base plate loose on the saw. That's one of the things I have loved about the Makita, the previous version of the saw, the LXT double battery, and then this is the XGT. Hey, good looking, how come you leave the base plate loose? You notice that it just keeps the base plate just nice and flat to the surface? Honestly, I just don't even know. For me, it's more comfortable. I like being able to plunge in there. Now you can see that because we drilled those holes, the pieces all just fall away. So it's just a bunch of cutting. You try to do as much in the same position. And just listen to your tunes. Those are the ISO tunes, free 2.0. There is a link in the description. They're Bluetooth and hearing protection. Genuine hearing protection. Not like your earpods or whatever those things are. Sometimes people ask in the comments below, and feel free to ask questions below, what is your favorite tool? And generally I will respond like on a podcast, it's cordless tools or it's the forklift. I have to say, I think it's that little Makita blower. It has been so useful, we use it all the time. You know how anytime you order units of sheathing for the floor, the top sheet, sometimes the bottom sheet are kind of ugly? Those are the perfect ones to make sawhorses, especially if the lumberyard gives you a credit for those and they don't want them back, which is often the case. So do not be afraid to ask, send them pictures. We did a job for a builder about 12 years ago, and he was really big on, if you don't like the material, take pictures, we're gonna get a credit for it. Usually the lumberyard didn't want it back, so guess what? We could use it up for whatever we wanted to, like sawhorses. Specifically, the world's best sawhorses. As you can see, to make one pair of sawhorses, we can get three, I'm going to call those blanks. So you get a pair and a half. Let's say it that way. A pair and a half per sheet. So with the waste from your floor, generally speaking, we can probably get at least one pair out of these. There's really no expense added. If you were just to go out and buy Advantech, it isn't cheap. And the X Factor is about $8 a sheet more than the regular Advantech where we're at. But that overlay, boy, I'm going to follow this up with another video. We have really come to love that overlay, and I did not think I would love it as much as I do. For those of you that are watching this video and maybe not full-time professional framers, get used to putting your saw on the blade. For those of you that are professional full-time framers, get used to putting the saw on the blade. It's an old safety feature from the days of the old worm drive saws where the blade just took some time to wind down. And everybody's got a story of setting the blade down, the tooth caught, and then it rode over their foot or something. When I was a teenager, Dave told me the story about old Jake that worked. We had a bunch of Jakes, so old Jake. And he did exactly that. Cut right through his brand new sneakers. Only sock was showing. He didn't get his toes, which was a good thing. With the blade breaks now, it's probably not as important. I think it's still a good habit to get into. I bet you're singing that song right now.
Shed a tear 'cause I'm missing you. Still alright to smile. We won't fake it. Oh, never make it.
All right, now for being honest, when you're driving around alone, raise your hand in the comments below if you really think you harmonize with Axl Rose. At least Axl back in the day. Quick story is a very cool 7th grader hanging out with seniors in high school going to Mariners games. We had to make a special trip to Sam Goody in South Center for You Could Be Mine single.
Is that how I did this one?
It was released as a single when Terminator 2 came out.
Always wait by on my own. I never really cared until I met you. How do I get you alone? Baby, you're my angel. Come and save me tonight. You're my angel. World runs out of lovers. We'll still have each other. Nothing's gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us. Get through the bad times. Gonna do. I don't care about that. Don't ever look back. This thing together, standing strong forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now.
Be honest, you know you were singing along. Okay, we decided to start routing the edges on these. We keep like a little 1/8, I think it's a 1/8 round over bit in that Milwaukee router. The benefit of that is it makes it easier to slide materials when they're on top of the sawhorses, and when you fold them and you grab one in each hand and you go and put them away, the edges aren't sharp. You know, because our hands are kind of dainty and we don't want sharp edges. It's just more comfortable. And it was about this time when I could see some rain clouds moving in right there on the top right of your screen. So it was a bit of a race to get this done. All right, let's take a quick break from construction. I want to introduce you to the Xsense. This is the XP0A-SR. What does all of that mean? This is a combination smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector. I can put them anywhere. So this is perfect for renters, tech enthusiasts, whatever. Insanely easy to install. I mean, look at that. I'm looking you right in the eye. And look how easy that is. It takes just a few minutes to install them. Not only is it very loud and clear, but it also will give you the warning in a human voice, which children respond better to.
Hello from Xsense. Press the test silence button to test. This is only a test. The alarm will sound loudly. You can press the test silence button to cancel the test. Testing the smoke sensor. Testing the carbon monoxide sensor. The test is finished. Normal working status.
12 years ago, we took a disaster preparedness class. One thing they taught us is that as families, it's good to run practice drills with the kids. So when they hear the sound or they hear the voice that comes from this, that they just leave the house. We want a rally point. That way, when they hear this sound, they automatically know. You just get out and you head straight to that point. If you are interested in this, there is a unique to Awesome Framers for you, the subscriber, down in the video description, a link to the unit, a link to Amazon, and of course that discount code. Now, Xsense doesn't just make smoke alarms, carbon monoxide detectors, driveway alarms, mailbox alarms, water leak sensors. So if any of that is something you need in your house, then I would definitely recommend this.
Now that all of your blanks, I don't know what else to call them, are finished, it's time to install the hinges. You want the barrel of the hinge to be below the top of the sawhorse. The reason for that is that as you cut material, you don't want your blade to hit that barrel. Now, I am really picky. Do not cut the top of my sawhorses. Don't. Notice how the barrel is sitting just below that. Again, you can see these are cheap hinges. They don't need to be some kind of crazy, heavy-duty hinge. That's not really where the strength comes from. The strength really comes from the rope, keeping them from spreading. And those are what you call framer fingers. Or a good friend of mine, Mikey, who's a musician, said, and I don't think he meant this as a compliment, that I have bass player fingers. And I'm like, ha, joke's on you. I play guitar poorly. Now when it comes to the opposite side, you're just going to have to show that basically all framers are like helicopter pilots or drummers. We use all of our limbs and digits. So a piece of 3/4 just holds it up, because again, we want the barrel to be below the top of the surface. I'm going to use my shoulder, and my right shoulder and my right hand to help stabilize it. Get a couple screws in there. It's not that difficult, but you should have seen me the first couple times. I may or may not have, but definitely did get hit in the head a couple times. Didn't. Anyway, we can do this by ourselves. We don't need somebody else to help us. There's a little better look. So notice how the seams line up, and that keeps that barrel below the top. Then it's just a matter of demonstrating your athletic prowess with a impact driver. You probably noticed the sawhorses don't line up perfectly. I don't care. Probably my original pattern, whatever. I think flipping it so it's not perfectly mirrored. So flipping it as I go, I probably could have paid more attention to that. I don't really care. It's not a big deal. This isn't a piano. This part can be a little tedious, especially when you buy rope that wants to untwine, so to speak. So here's the trick. Take the end of your rope, wrap some tape around it. I've got zip tape because we're using zip. Wrap the tape around it. I figured this out on the next one, right? So here it is a little bit slower in just a moment. Okay, here we go. Uncoil all of your rope, wrap tape around it, and then cut halfway through the tape. And that way each end of the rope has tape on it and doesn't come untwined. Remember, when you don't know how to tie a knot, you tie a lot. So a double knot works pretty well. Now I'm going to hold it with my shoulder, and I'm going to measure that 17 inches. You definitely don't want it to be too wide. In fact, some of ours, the rope has stretched and we need to retie it. We had one set collapse because it wasn't tied well. I can't remember if the knot flew through the bottom or what. That's our fault. It's not a design flaw. It's a Timmy flaw. I'm going to make sure that I have enough rope to tie the knot and a little left over. Wrap the tape around it, and that way when I cut right through the center of that tape, well, here, now I'm using my head. That means my next piece is ready to go, and it's also taped, and it's not going to untwine on me, or detwine. I don't know, I probably have like an extra foot. You can see the Sharpie mark right there near the Sharpie. Yeah, right where I grab it. And so I'm going to tie the knot so that it comes out pretty close to that Sharpie. And then I'm just going to tie it again and try to get that knot so that it's a double knot. Hey, look at that. Then the next one, I can just basically do the same thing. As I hold it, I can try to guesstimate as best I can and get it right some of the time, all of the time, some of the time. Here comes the rain. You can see the slab's getting pretty wet. Ended up getting pretty soaked, but that's life that's springtime in the Pacific Northwest. Now in this case, I'm going to hold it up and you see what I'm doing there. Is I'm going to hold it to where I think it needs to be, mark that with a Sharpie. I want my knot to come down, And this way, that excess rope, which is just going to go in the van. The end is taped so the whole rope doesn't come apart. Notice the little butane torch there? I thought that I could just hold the ends and burn it. That didn't work so well. I think it's just because the flame was too small, and I don't have a bigger torch, so the zip tape sufficed. The end of the rope coming, when I pulled the wrapper apart, clearly had been burned, so maybe we should have got our weed burner out and just torched the end. So you could see there how I do the knot. You just try to get it close to that Sharpie. It's getting wet. It's getting wet. That's just how it goes in the Pacific Northwest. Now you can see that one's a little tighter than the other one, so I'm just going to loosen the knot. That's why you don't want to crank it super tight. Ask me how I know that. This way you can adjust. And sometimes you just adjust more than once. Hey, thanks for following along, everybody. I really do highly recommend that you go buy the set from Ed, make them for yourself. There's been some snarky comments here and there. You pick whatever sawhorses are the best for you. These have been great for us. No complaints since whatever that was, 2017. If you don't mind, please hit that like and subscribe button. And go follow us on Instagram. It's just @AwesomeFramers on Instagram. Thank you, everybody, for following along. We're going to get back to our regular programming in the next video. All right. So there is 2 pair of Jackass sawhorses out of the world's greatest subfloor, X Factor. What are the differences between my pair and Ed's? I go with 2 ropes. I don't know. His works great. 2 is 1, 1 is none. It's the expression framers use. And I routed all the edges. That way when you grab them, you're never really like scratching or pinching yourself. Okay. I'm out. These cameras put away.